So all along, when we thought maybe Blake wanted the rights, I mean, she might end up being the director, right? But in all utter reality, maybe Colleen Hoover did not want to give up her rights.
Based on a beautiful, really important book, and it's about a young woman named Lily who confronts the generational cycles in her life and breaks them and ends the circle. I'm honored, and I'm also more honored that because what we're talking about is so important and so meaningful that we're able to have this much anticipation, and so many people want to go see it and are talking about it. Like, that's what I'm...
Colleen Hoover's recent controversies have painted a chaotic picture of an author once beloved by her readers, but now caught in a whirlwind of betrayal, allegations, and public backlash. For months, rumors swirled that Hoover schemed to push Justin Baldoni out of the film adaptation of It Ends With Us, reclaim the rights to her book, and ally herself with Blake Lively despite Blake not even reading the novel before being cast. Initially, Hoover and Baldoni had a promising partnership. He admired her story long before TikTok fame, even suggesting he play the male lead. While she eagerly supported his involvement and even recommended Blake for the female role, but tensions shifted drastically as Hoover allegedly turned against Baldoni, siding with Blake in what many fans now call a shocking betrayal. Reports claim Hoover was ruthless, indifferent to Baldoni's reputation, and willing to back Blake's claims without evidence, effectively stealing the project from under him. Things worsened when Hoover deleted her social media amidst a wave of criticism, avoiding accountability not only for her professional disputes, but also for disturbing allegations involving her son. A 16-year-old girl alleged Hoover's son assaulted her after meeting online, and instead of addressing the issue responsibly, Hoover reportedly blocked the teen. She later defended her son by claiming the story was twisted. Fans were left appalled, calling out the hypocrisy of an author who built her career on themes of abuse and trauma, yet failed to support a real-life victim when the situation involved her own family. At the same time, Hoover faced ridicule for bizarre missteps, like briefly releasing a coloring book based on It Ends With Us, a story rooted in domestic trauma. Fans deemed it tone-deaf and exploitative until it was swiftly pulled from shelves. Many believe she regretted selling the rights too early and grew resentful when Baldoni profited more than she did, fueling her alleged scheming. Meanwhile, Blake Lively's involvement only inflamed tensions, with leaks suggesting she imposed aesthetic changes on set, prioritized control over storytelling, and contributed to production chaos. Instead of mediating, Hoover publicly praised Blake in glowing terms, calling her kind and patient, while distancing herself from Baldoni, whose reputation suffered under accusations that later appeared fabricated. All of this, layered with whispers of behind-the-scenes manipulation, has transformed what should have been a celebrated adaptation into a tangled mess of betrayal, greed, and hypocrisy. The internet has not held back, dragging Hoover for abandoning the values she claimed to champion and vanishing when accountability was demanded. Critics argue she manipulated alliances, undermined Baldoni, enabled Blake's takeover, and evaded responsibility when scandals erupted, leaving fans questioning whether her retirement is genuine or merely an escape from humiliation. What began as a story about a best-selling book's journey to the screen has spiraled into a cautionary tale of Hollywood power struggles, public perception, and the downfall of an author who once seemed untouchable. At its core, the saga of Colleen Hoover, Justin Baldoni, and Blake Lively illustrates how ambition, resentment, and poorly handled controversies can dismantle reputations, fracture collaborations, and forever taint the legacy of a work that once resonated with millions.
Tease each other. He was, after I gave birth, he was like, oh my gosh, if I lost you and I, went to the park with our 3 kids, I mean, think of the ladies I can have. This is a horrible thing to say.
What chance that you can have a what?
A sequence, like it starts with this.
Oh. I mean, if Colleen has her rights, I'll go anywhere. I'll follow this woman anywhere.
Colleen Hoover's once polished image has spiraled into a storm of suspicion, betrayal, and controversy. And the more people dig, the more her actions appear calculated rather than careless. Fans are unsettled that Hoover calls Blake Lively a nice human, especially since the narrative Blake has been pushing about Justin Baldoni doesn't add up. If Justin had really done something as serious as alleged, more crew or cast members would have spoken up by now. But instead, there's only silence. Meanwhile, Blake herself has been trailed by accusations for years. Yet, she has somehow positioned herself as the one leading the charge against Justin, with Colleen faithfully backing her every word. Many observers believe Hoover's loyalty to Blake is less about truth and more about keeping Hollywood elites, happy. Speculation is growing that Hoover grew frustrated with Baldoni because he wasn't generating the kind of profits she imagined she could have earned if a bigger star like Blake was in control. Whatever the motivation, it's becoming clear Colleen made a colossal misstep, one she may not be able to undo. She underestimated how unforgiving the public has become and misjudged how impossible it is to hide scheming in the age of receipts and leaked interviews. People aren't looking the other way anymore, and Hoover has learned that lesson the hard way, much like other celebrities who thought they were untouchable. Footage from a CNN interview with Blake Lively raised eyebrows when she casually suggested she'd do a sequel if Colleen had the rights. That was strange, because those rights clearly belonged to Justin and Wayfarer Studios. The exchange felt less like a slip and more like a wink towards secret plans already in motion. Colleen sat calmly while Blake spoke, as if comfortable with an unspoken arrangement that Justin's hold on the rights wouldn't last. That moment was too convenient, especially given that Colleen launched her own production company, Heartbones Entertainment, not long afterward. Then in October, Variety confirmed another Hoover film project was moving forward under her new banner. If Colleen didn't expect to regain control of her books, why would she suddenly invest in a company to handle adaptations? The timing, with her switch to a powerhouse law firm representing A-list stars like Johnny Depp and Brad Pitt, made it obvious she was preparing for a serious legal maneuver. Fans began connecting the dots. Colleen was plotting behind Justin's back while Blake dangled her Hollywood influence in plain sight. With Blake and Ryan Reynolds' financial muscle, it isn't hard to imagine them fueling Colleen's bid to seize control, orchestrating a scenario where Justin would be pushed aside. By August, whispers circulated that Colleen and Blake were already scheming, and by the fall, the groundwork for the takeover was visible to anyone paying attention. But the darkest twist comes in the form of the morality clause buried in Justin's original contract. Such clauses are common in Hollywood, designed to automatically void deals if a party is accused of immoral or criminal behavior, much like how public figures have lost honors or endorsements after scandals. In Justin's case, the clause specifically stated that if he were accused of sexual assault, the rights to It Ends With Us would revert back to Hoover immediately. Suddenly, Blake's harassment claims no longer looked coincidental. They looked like a deliberate trigger to activate the very clause that would oust Justin legally and hand the rights back to Colleen. The strategy was sinister yet cunning. Hit Justin with an accusation that would instantly fulfill the contract's conditions, force his removal, and free the rights for Hoover to redirect wherever she wished. And who better than Blake, already positioned as her Hollywood elite, to benefit from that sudden windfall? Once the allegation surfaced, the dominoes fell fast. Justin's agency dropped him. Industry support evaporated overnight. The narrative was quickly reshaped to make Colleen and Blake appear as the rightful custodians of the project. But for those watching closely, the orchestration was glaring. Colleen had been laying the foundation for this exact scenario, switching legal teams, launching a production company, and aligning herself with powerful players who could shield her while undermining Justin. The more receipts surfaced, the more this looked like a coordinated takedown rather than a spontaneous fallout. Fans are furious not just at the alleged betrayal of Baldoni, but at the hypocrisy of Hoover's entire brand. She built her empire, writing about trauma survivors and moral reckoning. Yet when faced with a chance to act with integrity, she chose Hollywood politics and self-interest. By backing Blake's unverified claims, quietly preparing her production infrastructure, and capitalizing on Justin's downfall, Hoover has cast herself less as a victim and more as a shrewd operator hiding behind the guise of naivety. The internet has not been forgiving, calling out her evasive tactics, her sudden disappearance from social media, and the cold precision of her decisions. The scandal is no longer about whether one adaptation succeeds or fails, it's about whether Colleen Hoover has permanently tainted her reputation as both an author and public figure. Fans feel betrayed. Justin's career has been dragged, and Blake's credibility is under question. But the one undeniable fact is that Colleen was at the center, pulling strings with unnerving calm. What began as a partnership rooted in mutual respect has unraveled into a case study in Hollywood scheming, where a morality clause, strategic alliances, and carefully timed PR moves became weapons in a ruthless game. Hoover may have thought she was ensuring control of her own work, but in the process, she has revealed a willingness to manipulate narratives, exploit contractual loopholes, and betray collaborators, all while trying to maintain a polished public image. Whether she can recover from this mess is unclear. But one thing is certain, she is no longer viewed as the innocent storyteller who champions survivors, but as a figure whose behind-the-scenes maneuvering exposes the darker realities of power. profit, and ambition in Hollywood.
And he's like, I mean, I've got a long list. And I was like, oh, really? Because I just have one on my list. I don't have anyone on my list.
And then it wasn't funny anymore. A lot of it's my real life clothes or my husband's clothes or my girlfriend Gigi's clothes. I was borrowing some. Wait, that's kind of
A new layer of proof has emerged in the ongoing chaos surrounding It Ends With Us. And this time, it comes from a lengthy Reddit thread allegedly written by someone from the crew itself, a post that appeared a full 4 months before any public drama spilled out, suggesting this entire mess was premeditated to the last detail. According to the claims, Blake Lively began expressing discomfort around Justin Baldoni after he allegedly remarked on how sexy she looked in an outfit during filming, which supposedly pushed her over the edge. At the same time, Justin wasn't satisfied with the film's initial cut and secretly hired his own editors to rework it. Not wanting to lose control, Blake asked Sony to let her bring in her own editing team. But when the studio refused, she allegedly threatened to go public with sexual harassment allegations and take her story to the New York Times unless Sony gave her the power she wanted. Panicked, Sony sided with urbaning Justin from the studio and ceding control to Blake. The irony. Once she took over, she reportedly brought in Taylor Swift's music video team while also juggling a project in Italy. The end result was a chaotic disaster that eventually needed a professional editor to clean up. On top of that, when Taylor discovered the film's composer was someone she had personal issues with, she issued Sony an ultimatum. Her or him. Naturally, Sony chose Taylor, firing the composer and plunging production into even deeper turmoil. The deeper fans dig, the more this looks like a carefully orchestrated takedown of Baldoni for the sake of greed and control. If Justin had been successfully ousted, Colleen Hoover's new production company, Heartbones Entertainment, would have been perfectly positioned to scoop up the rights while Blake gained full creative dominance. It all reeks of manipulation dressed up as morality. The timeline only adds fuel to the fire. Blake files her lawsuit. Colleen rushes in to back her without evidence. Justin responds with receipts. And suddenly, Colleen vanishes from social media. Then Justin's attorney, Brian Friedman, drops his own bombshell warning about subpoenas and digital records being pulled into court. Almost instantly, Colleen deletes her Instagram on January 22nd, looking like someone desperate to scrub her history before anyone can dig deeper. What was she hiding? This is no longer just about a film adaptation, it's about power, control, and greed at the highest levels. Hoover wasn't content to simply watch her story reach the big screen. She wanted influence over how her narratives were shaped in Hollywood. And when the chance came to claw back power, she jumped at it. Every breadcrumb points to a deliberate attempt to dismantle Justin's career and reputation in order to shift the balance in her favor. Yet another twist clouds the story. Rumors of Hoover retiring. At first, it seemed like a victory for her critics. But whispers suggest it's more complicated. Some say Blake may have manipulated Colleen just as much as she manipulated the studio, painting herself as a vulnerable actress distressed by Justin's supposed behavior, leaning on Colleen's sympathies to get her on her side. Imagine Blake whispering in Colleen's ear that she didn't know what to do, that she felt unsafe but feared speaking up, that she only wanted to protect the project Colleen cared so deeply about. It would be the perfect ploy to secure her loyalty. And if Blake was also quietly stirring up other cast members, like Brandon Sklenar Atlas, whispering stories about Justin's alleged misconduct, while promising them brighter careers under her leadership, the narrative becomes even darker. This wouldn't just be Hollywood politics, it would be calculated manipulation to isolate Justin, rally allies, and seize command. By now, the story reads less like a romantic drama adaptation and more like a thriller of betrayal and backstabbing, where loyalty is traded for influence and moral outrage is weaponized for power. And yet, there's still the question, was Hoover the mastermind or merely a pawn? Some speculate she realized too late how deep the scheme ran, which might explain her hasty retreat from social media and her rumored retirement, a sign of regret or fear that worse receipts could surface. Others believe she was fully complicit, ready to cash in through her production company and prepared to let Justin's career burn if it meant more power for herself. Either way, the damage is done. Colleen's image as the author who champions survivors has been shattered. Blake's credibility has been questioned. And Justin has endured a public dragging that may never fully fade. The plot thickens further. When you consider how perfectly timed Blake's lawsuit was to activate the morality clause in Justin's contractor clause that automatically reverted rights back to Colleen in the event of sexual misconduct allegations, that timing wasn't random, and the fallout wasn't coincidental. The second the accusation hit, Justin's agency dropped him. The industry recoiled, and suddenly, Colleen and Blake were free to operate however they wished. Now, with rumors of Colleen stepping away, people are asking whether she's truly done with publishing and film more, simply ducking the spotlight until the storm passes. Meanwhile, the internet continues piecing together the puzzle, pointing out how every move from legal switches to the launch of Heartbones Entertainment to Blake's bold interviews lined up to neatly to be chance. In the end, the saga has become about far more than one film. It's a story of greed disguised as justice, power grabs masquerading as moral outrage, and reputations destroyed in a game that only benefits those at the very top. Whether Colleen Hoover was the puppeteer or just another piece on Blake Lively's chessboard is still up for debate. But one fact remains undeniable. Justin Baldoni entered this project with genuine intentions, and what followed was a meticulously plotted sequence of betrayals that turned a beloved novel's adaptation into one of Hollywood's messiest scandals. So the question lingers, was Colleen a pawn in Blake's twisted game, or was she quietly running her own? Either way, the stench of manipulation and backroom scheming is impossible to ignore. This saga is far from over.